Hello everyone, Alex is here. Do you want me to check your resume or project? Wait until the end of the video and I will show you how you can send it directly to me. But meanwhile, let's talk about resume. My resume to get into Meta. But let's discover my roadmap, my history of resume that I had, and how I was able to perfectly for me change that, and which tips and tricks do I personally have. I'm not a professional HR in no case. That's totally not mine. But I know some things that I was able to discover during these years. So maybe these things will help you. Let's start with my European version of resume. So that's my Ukrainian resume. And firstly, that I wanted to show you, there is a huge difference in Europe, or at least in Ukraine and USA, of creating the resume. Because in Europe, I'll say in this way, because as I know that's all the European style, we should show our photo. It's better to have more professional, but I have that one and I was like, I wanted this one and that's all. We should have mostly everything on one page, and for that to look, I'll say beautiful. Not fancy, but with style. That's the style that I have created. I have written my about me section, my experience on the right side, and some additional things for me about my languages, hobbies, and my competencies. Also, some links on the left bottom section. What I want to say here, that while I was creating that resume, I discovered that firstly, you should highlight your stacks. So it will be the thing that will be instantly shown, and you will be able instantly to show what you have been working on with, so it will be easier. Also, one of the things I was experimenting here, I was able to write a lot of the companies where I have been teaching, so that's the thing that I was trying to create in this way, so I was able to write on the latest, but I have been working a lot of courses, why not to use all of them? So I was experimenting in this way. Yeah, so that's one of the things that I discovered to working on with. I don't remember if it was, I think maybe this one was the latest version that I created. Let's discover others that I have, and then we'll figure out if it's the latest or not. Yeah, this one was created earlier, so here I had another picture that was much more or less professional, and a little bit more about me text. As you can see, it is shortened, and also a lot of the same nearly information about the places where I have been teaching. So that's why I have taken all of them, but have taken them into one section and made a diapason of from which place until which time I have been doing this thing. Also, inside of the hobby, we have a couple of the information that is not so important. So remember, when you're saying about some of your hobbies, I try to make them more general so the person will understand something, because here I was writing some specific information that have been for me that I know, but not a lot of people know that, and why should they know this? So this thing that I discovered here to improve more. The next one will be more to about not just English speaking in the community, but about USA and the people who have moved from Europe to USA. We can have such kind of resume, but it is not working here as I know, because I have been working a lot of courses, why not to use all of them? So that's the thing that I discovered here to improve more. The next one will be more to about not just English speaking in the community, but about USA and the people who have moved from Europe to USA. We can have such kind of resume, but it is not working here as I know, because that's not their style because they're using a lot of AI tools to instantly discover such resumes, and they should have a pattern of that. And that's why they don't have such pattern. Of course, a lot of people can discover them manually, and maybe that will be a plus, but you should not show your photo while in Europe. It's mostly okay, and it's better to have because they will know who they're going to expect to see. Here, that's not the case to do. So that's why I have another recommendation. Totally change that if you want to apply to the community. But here, what I wanted to show you deeply, that's the difference that is here and here. Firstly, it's creating that on the one page. I have been taking a lot of the time to try to group everything to one page, and I think you should avoid the least important things if they're not in the one page. So the one page is more important than some your additional experience. If this experience is not very mandatory, you can try to remove some paddings from the bottom of the page, try to put them as much as you can into the one page, but the most important thing, it should look okay, so it should not have a lot of the text, small font size, and it's not easy to look at it. You should be able to easily read that. I think for each of the sections, each of the experience, you should have like approximately 1-2 sentences to, in general, say what you have been doing and maybe the stack. That's my point of view, how you can work on that. And it depends on where you put your resume on. Because in Ukraine, maybe in Europe, it's more important to know the style that you have been working on this and when you have been working on that. Not the percentage that have been improved to your company and etc. And here we're going to Meta, to my final resume that I have been sending on that worked a lot. And here I have totally changed my method of working on that. And let's discover with my old resume that I have been sending to recruiters. So here we have not a problem, but the look. So firstly, what you can see, it's totally different structure. It's you don't have columns, you have only horizontal lines, like rows, with each of the information, summary, professional experience, certificates, skills, and awards. Here I want to say something more that I wasn't able to put that into one page. I know that there is the recommendation to have the two, not more than two, but it was hard to me to do in this way, so I have taken 3. It could be 1, it's ideal, but 1 to take, that's quite hard. For example, it will be really powerful if you have been working, for example, at Google or Apple for decades, and yeah, in general, you can write like only this experience, and I think it will be mostly hard to every place, and maybe some skills on the bottom. But firstly, you should concentrate on the numbers and on how much was increased, what has been increased, how you can discover this information. You can ask your manager, you can ask if you have directly with CTO or CO access to discover how much the metrics have been boosted. You can calculate by your own if you can do that. For example, you're working on courses and you can ask your students how many of them entered to the companies. There are a lot of the bootcamps that are taken instantly after the courses are entered to the specific companies, but that's really depends on the system that you're working on this. But numbers are crucial here. You should show how much effective it was. Also, how I made the structure, I also write in the end technology that I have been using. I think it would be better to highlight and bold. Right now I see. So I don't know if I made it here, probably not, but I think it will be good. Instantly here to have the name of the company and instantly the link to that website if you have, because I know that a lot of the companies, they can just stop working on. Oh, I didn't want to make this highlight. You should write where if you've been working on, the time for that. That's quite crucial here to also to write how many, not even tasks, how many things you have done based on your work. So like you could have 2 or 3 or 4 points, options to write. For example, what I have mostly was working on this, how it improved the overall experience working on with your company, and etc. But here I had a problem. Once more time, I have written for lector in a couple of places, but I have much more experience, so I should change it somehow. Certificates had a lot of the things, some awards, and what I came after sending this resume and checking on that with this one. First, I added YouTube because that's my main and I will say the only one social media that I'm working on this. Then I put the skills E after the summary, so instantly it will see what I can work on with and what is good to go or not. The problem here sometimes is how many technologies you know. You cannot remember all of them, but most of them you can try to remember on. Then the age of the professional experience has been written, and here the programming lecturing I have also gathered as it was on the first example, so I have made a bigger section but was able to tell more about my experience working in this sphere. And the last thing, I have written certificates. Why not awards and why not all the certificates? Because not a lot of them are being known. For example, some of these, they're like, it's zero for probably people who work on the USA, and if it's something not extremely global, I think it's better to close it up, especially if you don't have a lot of the place to show your data, your information. I really had a small amount of the pages left, so 3 was total maximum, so I should not just put all that information and make it more clean, more readable, and more understandable and straightforward. So that's straightforward is the key thing that you should use when you're creating your resume. And a brief but important summary should be written on here. I think that's one of the crucial things that should say what your experience is, what you're looking from the company, and what you're currently doing. The skills, so it will be instantly see, and the professional experience is also straightforward to understand and see. Once more time, maybe I will highlight the technologies here, so it will be easier to look on them. But also one thing, I will recommend you to export that on PDF, because I think that PDF is working more than if you send it on Pages or Docs, especially if you're working on Pages as me and convert it to Docs. I think that's a bad thing. It will convert it in not very good way. So that's my ideas how to work on that, like the numbers, I think the readability of the resume, and not to go in more than 1 page for European and not to go more than 3 in USA, and to have the good spaces between your roles, so it will be easier to look on that, so you can look at that and instantly understand what's happening here. That's my idea how it should be. And also one of the things I was trying to make all the points not to go to the separate page, for example, not in this way, but to be in this way. So if I'll put it here, you see it was divided. That's not beautiful, and maybe the algorithm will not see that as good as it should be. So when we'll export to, we have such look, and it's much easier and understandable what's going on here. That's my idea how it should look on like. Why I put certificates in the bottom? Because it's not a very important thing to be enrolled in. If you're, for example, going to the internship and you want to show your certificates more than professional experience, so it's more valuable thing, you can put it on the top, sorry. So you should just put the things on the top which are more relative to the work you're going to do and what are more important to do. What I was doing, and it's kind of tricky thing here, is the timeline that you can post. Because, for example, I was able to work on startup, work on the company, and also to have some educational courses at the same time, for example. And the problem is when you're looking on your timeline, or for example, I was a programming lecturer for a long time, but I was doing that later after I was the team leader. But I made a decision to put in the way it will be more important to the company. For example, if I will go to the company for education, for bootcamping, etc., I'll rather will put maybe some more relative experience, for example, development, senior full stack engineers matter on the top, then maybe team leader, and then, for example, the courses. But the other also relative, but not so important. I'll put a little bit more about them. So I was able to divide it into two sections. For example, here it was more about developing engineering, and at the bottom it was programming and lecturing. I don't think that you'll have such problem, but if because when you're doing programming, you like developing, you'll be doing developing. You won't be doing, for example, baristing, or not everyone is teaching. But if you're teaching and you're thinking how to put it, I made the next idea. If you want to put your program like a lecturing experience that have been alongside with your full-time job, you can put maybe that on the top, so you will be able to show you the people that you have the experience of lecturing. But if it's not the case, so maybe the thing that you have been working as a developer is more important. So see how it's important to put on what on the way which place, but it's only when you have that in the parallel. For example, you have a full-time job and part-time job that these companies agree to have, for example. That's important here. In all other cases, timelines will be totally fit you. So how it was on the timeline, it'll totally fit for you, and don't even overthink that. Yeah, so that's just the thing that I had my special problems. So that's my experience about creating a resume. Also, I had a lot of the projects before to show. I had my portfolio project, but all of those things I or lost or have just a couple of the files that I have been working on with. Yeah, so that's sadly that not all the things I can show, but I wanted to give this opportunity to you and create one more place where you can discover your resume to see their improvements or projects. The new, not show, but the new project, we'll say in this way, that's reviewing of resumes and reviewing of the projects. First, I'm not the professional resume reviewer and the projects also, but what is an idea? If you wanted to send me a brief, your idea of resume, you can send it to me and I can make a brief under 1 minute review on that. So I'll say send these links in the description down below, so you'll be able to send the resume, agree to the policy that I'm not like, you should take the control what you're sending. If you don't want it to send, for example, some personal information, the company that you have been working on or your experience, but you're sending that, I'll probably will show that on the video because you have sent it me to review that. So if you don't want to show something as didn't want to, I was able to highlight that or to make the dots. It's better not to edit PDF file, but to edit such Word file and then send it saved. So you should totally check if it was saved. If it wasn't saved and you send it to me, sadly, but I will be able still to show you. In other way, you can in general write me and we can try to figure out how we can, for example, blur that after production. So please take a look what you are sending to me. But how it will work, you'll send it, I'll have a list of people who will send, and we'll make a video about my personal thoughts about the resume, what I like, what I don't like, that like the first impression. That's approximately 1 minute that is each HR is taken to check the project, the resume, maybe even less, maybe a couple of seconds, but I will say my personal thoughts. And the same with projects. So if you have some of your projects, links to GitHub, GitLab, Figma, it's better to send me ready to go project link, so I will be able to instantly just take the link and run that, because maybe I won't run all of the project that you have, you will send by GitHub. Firstly, because of the security reasons, and secondly, because probably I won't have a lot of the time to do that. But maybe I will just show the project that you have and to make the salt that I have, because it's also important to send as easy to check project as it could be, because if you will send the project to review and it will be a GitHub link and the person should download it, run it, it will be hard, it will be not fast. So ideal thing is to provide a link with everything that the user should have, and instantly to see how does it work. Yeah, so that's the thing. So if you wanna, please go to this website. Say here you just send URL, here just send a file, specific one, support file, PDF or document. Yeah, so that's the thing I wanted to say you. Thanks everyone for watching this video. Hoping that you like this initiative. Please write down in the comments anything that you wanted to improve, maybe even in this project. I hope that we'll be able to create this project as soon as possible. And we'll be looking for your reviews. Wishing you all the best. Bye.